Twilight Zone, past the outer limits of reality. You're listening to the Unicus Radio Hour with your host, Robert Stanley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Unicus Radio Hour. I'm your host, Robert Stanley. It's indeed a great pleasure to be with you again. Hope you're doing well this evening. It's August 23rd, fabulous Friday. I had a very nice full moon this week, too. That was pretty. So anyways, I hope you're all doing well. I know there's some new listeners to the show tonight. And welcome. Our special guest this evening her name is Tanaath. Her website is silverlegion.org. And Tanaath, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Am I saying your name correctly?
And you said it right.
Okay, all right, good.
Yes, it's Tanaath. All
right. Okay. It's been a lot of technical glitches today, but we're here, and that's a good thing. So I hope you're well.
I'm doing pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, all things considered, I understand it's very dangerous to live on this planet. Even on a good day, right?
Yes, incarnation on Earth may be hazardous to your health.
Yeah, absolutely. So visit with caution. I would have to say that I had a graphic of that up for a while. What is it? Don't feed the animals here. What was it? Something about, Yeah, anyway, it's good to have you on. I don't have a zillion questions off the top of my head other than, let's start with this one. What is the Silver Legion?
Well, simply put, we're a higher dimensional and or spirit world-based organization. I say and or because when we started out, we were only spirit world-based, meaning that we inhabited planes corresponding to and higher than the astral plane, which some people know about. But since then, we have developed a dimensional presence as well. We have developed quite a firm presence in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensions, including our very own space program. But that still doesn't get to answering who and what we are. We're an organization of warriors. Essentially, what we are light warriors who solve problems. If you've got a big problem, somebody calls the Silver Legion, we come in and we do our best to solve it. So in this case, what we're doing is we're helping support the liberation efforts for Earth and doing what we can within the confines of preserving human sovereignty on this planet to help fix the situation that has been designed on this planet and is currently giving a lot of us aches, pains, and headaches of all sorts.
Okay. Now, we have somebody calling in. I'm going to take this really quick, but I got to tell you in the future, folks, be patient, okay? Area code 704, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you? Tanaath, I listen to you all the time. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
All of your help. My one question is the Earth a biosphere?
Well, technically, anything that supports life is a biosphere. When we use the term biosphere, we use it in a couple of different ways. One is as any kind of body that supports life, also known as ecosystems or what have you. The Earth is a life-supporting biosphere, and it is an artificially created planet, but it is not a biosphere ship. When you're using the term biosphere, you're probably using it to mean the same thing that Tolek of the Andromeda Council says, and those biospheres are not planets. They are actually very large, self-contained, life-supporting ships. Biosphere ships, the way they're designed, is as long as it has its inner power crystal intact, you could leave those things in the middle of the void between galaxies, or even the void between galactic clusters where there is no incoming external light or anything else, and that thing would tick along for infinity. They don't decay. They're self-sustaining at an infinite level. So that is, if you compare that instead to, say, a ship, which tends to be a lot smaller, a ship can only remain running for so long. Now, granted, the ships that we use can usually remain running for anywhere upwards of 5,000 years or more, but sooner or later they'll need to come in for a refit. And, well, you know, tech marches on, upgrades happen.
Thank you. So I was just wondering, because I keep hearing that the Earth was pulled here into this orbit. And I said, well, is it a biosphere? Is it artificial? But it's not necessarily artificial, but it's not a ship either. So
yeah, it is artificial. This Earth was created. It was created by planet engineers. It is a planet, meaning it has all the processes and functions of a planet, but it is still artificially created. A natural planet forms from accretion. If you're at all interested in stellar mechanics and interstellar mechanics, accretion happens when you have the matter that surrounds newborn stars is basically rolled up like a big snowball and eventually fuses together because of the mass involved and creates a planet. This is an actual thing that happens, but you can do this artificially, and that's what was done in Earth's case.
Wow, that's cool.
It was actually created several hundred light years away, well over 7 billion years ago, and towed here using a ship. That's one big tugboat.
That is so cool. You know, one other thing, and then I'll get off. You gave me a tip on wheat on one of the radio shows I was listening to. I don't know where, but I think it was on Universal Voices or something. But,
likely. I will talk at great length against wheat.
Yeah, but listen, I stopped using wheat because I'm nearly 50, like a few months away from being 50. Stopped eating wheat, and my hormones balanced. I mean, like almost the very next day, I stopped having hot flashes. So anyone out there listening, what Tanaath is saying is true. It does have some type of effect on you, and I'm gluten-free now, and I'm telling you, I'm having the best life now.
You want to hear a lot of testimonies about this. There's a fella who wrote a book called Wheat Belly, and he runs a blog by the same name, and he posts a lot of user testimonies on there. I shouldn't say user because it's not user. I'd say quitter testimonies on there. Wheat quitter.
Okay.
And you would be absolutely surprised at, like, just shocked at how many of the things that we take for granted as the normal suffering of getting older are actually attributable to wheat.
Wow. Well, I'm going to get off, and you have a great evening. Thank you so much for everything, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
Man.
Yeah, okay. So, a friend actually sent me something about that recently, and it's not always just the wheat, what's in the wheat. It's what's taken out of the wheat during the processing. It's phenomenal. I mean, they're basically giving us garbage and calling it wheat. So it's not as though it's not just that people are allergic to gluten or this genetically modified. I think it was the 60s or something that they started genetically modifying the wheat, but they take all the good stuff out.
They didn't do. It was never actually anything so accurate as genetic modification.
Okay.
No, it was more a process of, like, genetic modification implies that you know what each gene does and you're changing it deliberately.
Yeah.
No, instead what they did was just bombard it with as much lethal stuff as they could and see what randomly came out of the mix.
Wow, okay.
Which is much, much worse than genetic modification. It's, okay, think back to the era. This was the era of the radioactive Spider-Man. And while I love superheroes as much as the next fangirl, honestly, we know now that exposing things to mutagenic chemicals and radiation really is not good for organisms and doesn't produce anything super or wonderful. Usually what it produces is horrible, crippled beings, whether animal or plant, that are sickly and can't sustain themselves.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's there's just so many different things in this world that are obviously tainted, And
and deliberately so.
Yeah.
If you ask me, a lot of
Yeah.
this was done absolutely on purpose to bring about a situation where we have no choice but to eat garbage that will shorten our lives, make us miserable, and reduce our ability to think critically
Yeah.
and think spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For those people who'd like to be on the show, call in with questions. The phone number here, if you didn't already know, is area code 202-697-9935. And yes, just be patient, okay? Sometimes I don't always pick up right away. And also turn down your computer or radio, whatever you're listening on there, please. You're on the air. Go ahead.
How you doing, Commander? This is Andres.
Hi, Andreas.
We talked over email about some stuff, but I have a very interesting question because we're doing some research about this sort of kind of organic pad that the Incans used to have. The name is Upana, and the other one's Kipu. They used to have like different layers of grains of corn, and they used to do finance and all sorts of mathematics with that. And it's really hard to find any information about that, so I don't know if you have anything on it.
Okay, I'm Googling this right now. I've never heard of it, but are you talking about like Upana caves or Upana caves?
No, there's like some kind of like ancient organic iPads they used to have to make finance with, and they used to do it with corn with different layers. It's like some kind of 3D calculator made organic with corn.
Hey, that's neat. No, I've never heard of that, but that's really neat.
Yeah, some friends of mine are going to do like a project on that next year, so it's really hard to find information on it. So usually you and Sunfire have the hand of most of this type of shit, so that's why I was asking you.
I'm definitely not an expert in corn, but you know what? There's, I would say, a lot of ancient techniques, technology, and ways of doing things that are starting to resurface. And I wish your friends the best in this endeavor, because things like this are going to be really important. All the different ways of knowing, ways of recording information. It's good that humanity is starting to relearn that thing, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this guy makes all these crazy projects. He does like projections, like mapping with ants and like making them move and stuff like this. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I was reading the other day. I like to browse tech forums too, and I was reading the other day that they've discovered that ants make the same sort of use the same sort of methods to decide where to go that our computers use in their internet protocols to decide which pathway is going to have the least amount of interference or lag or latency on its way to other computers.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I can get you in hand with information about this because like my friend's like the pioneer on this, and he's actually the guy who's doing this research on this other technology from the Incas.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I'll write to your email about it.
Sure. I don't know how much time I have to review it all in depth, but I'll definitely take a look.
Yeah, it's interesting to know a little bit of this and that. Well, it's been really cool talking to you. I'll keep in touch. I really like the information you and Fire and Drake provide. Always with a grain of salt, of course. Like, nobody gotta be stupid though. But you guys really hook it up. And I hope you like the song I sent you.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it. Things have been a little bit busy. I just started a new job, so.
Oh yeah.
Been adjusting to having a schedule.
All right, cool. So big hugs, Robert. Nice program, and
thank you.
Keep them talking, guys.
All right, Caballero. Thank you.
All right,
bye. Yeah, we got an email question for you. It says, "Hi Tanaath, thanks for all you do for us here on this planet. What is our astral body, and does it have a separate consciousness to our lower earthly self? And does it or could it be fighting for the good of all the people of this beautiful world without the lower self knowing?"
Yes. To the last question, yes, it can.
Yeah.
Your astral body is, well, I don't know if astral is really the way to say it, because probably what we're talking about here is your higher dimensional or spirit world body, your soul. you think of, or many people, I should say, I shouldn't necessarily say the person asking this question, but many people think of their body as themselves. Your body is the vehicle that you use to interface with the 3D world that we live on, this Earth.
Yeah.
The actual you, where your consciousness lies, is your soul. And that soul has a form, and depending on your origin, that form could be human or that form could be something else. So when you're on the astral plane, you're actually putzing around in your soul.
I see.
You're being yourself again for some time.
Mm-hmm.
And as for whether or not you're always aware of it down here, you're not. The body you're in has limitations, a lot more limitations than the soul that is you. And because of that, there is a limit to how much information you will consciously remember while you are running around in your body. Just like your car does not remember what you're listening to on your iPod when you're walking down the street.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you don't have that same sort of recollection. Now, you can train yourself to recall some of it, but it is something that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. And if you're one of these people who has natural out-of-body experiences, or who has managed to learn how to consciously project your consciousness out of your body and rejoin your soul up there, you might have a lot more recollection of it than, say, somebody who has not learned those techniques.
I see.
Did I catch all the questions
I
there?
think so. I hope so. If not, I'm probably going to get another email about it, so... Well, one way or
the thing
not.
is, when I get multiple questions, I tend to answer, I don't always catch them all. So if we could ask them one at a time, it makes them a lot easier to answer.
Well, okay, let's see. What is our astral body? And let's just do it that way. What is our astral body? I think you answered that.
Yep.
Yeah. And does it have a separate consciousness to our lower Terran self? I think that was the second part.
Yeah, so I partly answered that. I'll answer that a little more plainly in that. No, it does not have a separate consciousness. Your soul actually takes in everything that you do in the body. It's just not always a full two-way street because you have a lot less capacity running around in this body than you do when you're just running around as a soul.
I see. And then it says, and I think you answered this one, does it or could it be fighting for the good of all the people of this beautiful world without the lower self knowing?
Yep, that one is a definite yes. In fact, I would say of the couple of thousand Silver Legion incarnates that we have, at least half of them are not aware of the fact that they're doing this.
Wait a minute. They're down here doing this, but they don't know it?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're just keeping it to at night when their bodies are asleep.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
We do have quite a few who are deliberate and awake and aware of themselves.
Uh-huh.
And yes, I've been in contact with several other Silver Legionnaires. And if you're out there listening and you're thinking, well, how would I know if I'm a Silver Legionnaire or not? Well, one of the ways you can tell is when you hear about us, does it feel like family? Do you get a sense of belonging?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, wow, that's me, that's us?
Yeah.
That's usually a pretty strong telltale sign that you're one of us.
Right.
I have a very distinct opinion about when it is or is not appropriate to tell somebody who or what they are. And the answer to that is it's never appropriate for me to try to tell somebody that they are something or someone. I don't believe it's up to me to claim another person as a Silver Legionnaire. It is up to them to define themselves as such.
Right.
It is never up to me to tell you who you are or what you are. If I do that, I might be wrong. I might be mistaken. If I was an unscrupulous individual, I could be lying. Now, I don't lie intentionally. I have been mistaken in the past, but I don't lie intentionally. Or, I may only be seeing a fragment of the truth and thus limiting you if you go by what I say instead of by what your insides say. So that's the reason I don't ever tell people, yeah, you're a Silver Legionnaire.
I see.
Or, yeah, you're this or you're that. It's up to them to define themselves. Identity is personal.
Yes, well, of course it is. I don't.
And this is part of personal sovereignty.
Uh-huh.
Is not letting anyone else define you or limit you.
Right. Okay, so what I was saying is that the phone number here to the studio is area code 202-697-9935. And, or you can Skype in. My ID is Unicus Editor. That's spelled UNICUS Editor. And I'm also getting your emails at editor@unicusmagazine.com. And our special guest tonight is Tanaath of the Silver Legion. Their website is silverlegion.org. How long has that been around? What brought you guys to this world?
Well, the answer to that is kind of mixed, because there's a lot of time travel and stuff with extra universal and extra stuff that isn't in the dimensions of this universe involved. And when you're dealing with that, you're dealing with time that moves all over the place.
Okay.
We think of time in terms of a linear, it's a linear entity with discrete movements, basically, in predictable movements. That's how we think of time.
Right.
In actuality, it's nothing of the sort. So, from my perspective, the Silver Legion came into existence as the Silver Legion around 2003.
Okay.
However, in terms of when it actually came together, it might not correspond at all to any kind of date or time that we care to put on it. The people involved have been doing this for a long, long time. They've been making use of all kinds of different techniques to modify time. So even though I recall having started it at 2003, it has actually been in existence a long time. There's some time travel involved with my own incarnation, so it starts getting to the point where I just want to stick my fingers in my ears and go, la, 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 I don't want to think about this.
Yeah, sure.
Time tends to bend my mind into a little loop, and I try not to think about it too hard, leave it to greater minds than mine. But yeah, we've been around for a while, and not very long.
Okay.
Is the paradoxical answer to that.
Okay. Okay, so you you answered it both ways. That's fine. And how is the work going that you're doing?
It has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like anything.
Yeah.
We consider this to be a war. It is a war, what's going on right now for this planet.
Yeah.
And some battles we win. Some battles we don't win.
Right.
Some just end up being messed up altogether for both sides. In general, I would say that we're winning. Even if it might not look like it in if you look at mainstream media,
yeah,
it sure doesn't look that way. But mainstream media is controlled, and we haven't yet taken it down. So in actuality, there has been a great deal of work done. Our situation right now, from those who are able to look at timelines, our situation right now is a lot more positive than it was a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And part of that is attributable to the work of the Silver Legion and the and our allies in the Andromeda Council and the Galactic Federation of Planets. Just as much as some of it is attributable to the actions of people on this planet as well. There's nobody here who is the one hero. We're all parts of the puzzle,
right?
And we're all working together to make this a success.
And what does success look like?
For me, I would say success would be defined as a free planet free of oppressors in which the people on it are able to live the natural lives that they were created to live as humans, that we were created to live.
Yeah.
Free from any authorities that they did not put in place for themselves. So free from tyranny and oppression and all those things. Able to live in peace and in harmony, to self-determine, to decide what they as individuals and as a society want to do, and to live, love, play, laugh, learn, do all those wonderful things that are involved when your life is really good.
Yeah.
In freedom, without having to worry about attack or oppression or being taken over from within or any of those things. Whether this occurs in the fourth dimension or anywhere else, I think it would probably be beneficial for humanity for this to occur in the fourth dimension. But as long as this planet is free at the end of the day and the people on it are doing what they choose and not having something chosen for them, I'll have counted this as a success.
Okay, well, I could agree with that. I mean, it's not even just a lack of leadership, it's the level of corruption that is just, it's appalling. It's almost just numbing, mind-numbing, you know, what's been going on here. So I really want to see it come to an end as soon as possible.
Me too. And this hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy for any of us. Those of us who are living these dual lives, being both active, aware agents to help change things, and at the same time trying to struggle like everybody else just to keep alive. It's definitely been a trial.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that the benefits, when we win, and I will say when,
yes,
the benefits far outweigh the struggle.
Right. Yeah, sure. Especially if we are eternal beings. This is just another little blip on the radar, I guess.
Yeah, 33 years isn't much for somebody who's lived an eternity already.
Yeah, right. Just another little chapter, as it were. So what's probably, if you have to categorize, what is the most pressing issue that you guys are working on right now?
Oh boy, we have a whole bunch.
I know, but just pick one off the top. What would be at near the top, if not the top issue that you guys are working on right now?
I got to think about this one because there is some stuff that's ongoing, and because it is ongoing, I am under operational security in terms of what I can and can't disclose.
Okay.
But I think one of the biggest things is actually disclosure.
All right.
And how this is going to come about in such a way that it doesn't blow up in our face or your face.
Right.
Because when it comes to disclosure, the pool has already been peed in.
Yes.
Quite a bit, deliberately, in order to create a situation where if we do come en masse as ships in the sky the way everybody wants and expects, it will be dismissed as Hollywood.
Yeah, of course.
Or an invasion.
Right.
Or something produced by the cabal.
Right.
Fakery, in other words. And if we do that, not only is it subject to those three perceptions, but we're subject to reprisal attacks as well, because it will be treated as a war move by the cabal. And they've made it clear that they won't scruple to harm the populace of this planet in order to deter us from doing something like that.
Right.
Not to mention, unless you're actually experiencing this stuff, it is very, very easy to dismiss it.
Yeah.
There are those who, no matter how many newspaper clippings of fleets you put out, no matter how many times Dan Rather or whoever's talking on the news is saying it's there and it's real, will dismiss it until they face-to-face meet somebody in the flesh and blood.
Oh, you know what? That reminds me. There was a story that came out. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Misinformation came out in yahoo.com. And it says astronauts see UFO near space station. And they've got a video, right?
Yep.
And they call it a UFO, right? And then under the picture it says an antenna cover from the service module floats outside the International Space Station. So it wasn't unidentified at all.
No, it's a real cognitive dissonance, and it's a deliberate one. The situation has been deliberately crafted.
Yeah.
To the point where the only thing that will work is actual face-to-face meeting of everyone, and then we got to somehow get by all the people who are going to reach for their guns when we're doing this.
Well.
Too.
Only because they're conditioned to feel threatened by anything that is not human, and even then, we are conditioned to be threatened by humans, other human beings, right? I mean,
exactly. Stranger danger.
Yeah, everything and everyone.
Down the street, it's your enemy.
Yes, right. Everybody and everything is your target, as it were. Now, area code 610 called in. If you're listening, call back. You got to give me more than 20 seconds to answer the phone because I don't want to interrupt what Tanaath is saying. I tried to get her on, or whoever this was, in time, but like I said, that's why you got to be a little bit patient when you're calling the show. Turn down your computer and just keep hanging in there for at least 30 seconds, because that's usually how long it'll take for me to get to you and answer the call and put you on the air. If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. Here's another question for you. Could Tanaath please explain human clones?
All right, I've talked about this a little bit before on other radio shows.
Uh-huh.
Now, in a lot of cases, when the elites have somebody who they want greater control over, for instance, maybe they can't bribe them, maybe they're in a position that is too risky to leave to chance. They will often take this person and either offer them cloning under the pretense that it's going to be a chance for them to regenerate any, injuries or organs that fail or whatnot, or force them into it. It could be willing or unwilling, by trickery or just frog marched into it. So they'll clone these individuals, and then they will keep a stock of these clones on hand, because clones don't last very long. They tend to deteriorate relatively rapidly after they're put out of cryostasis and put or activated, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
But the reason why they do this is because a clone is easily controlled. A clone does not have independent thought of its own. It has programming, and they're often programmed to think that they're real, think that they're a genuine being, so not realize that they're a clone, but they're still a programmed entity and not an ensouled being like you or I.
I see.
Does that answer the question?
Well, it does for me. I don't know. Like I said, unless I get another email from this person, Brent, if you're listening, he also asked if President Trump is a clone, does the president we see on TV have a soul or spirit? The clone.
The clone doesn't.
The clone does not have a soul.
There is an original. Yeah, no. The clone usually has a fragment that is used to sort of animate it, but it's not a full soul.
I see.
And actually, because it's not a full soul, it usually tends to deteriorate quickly. That's what kills it.
Oh.
There have been cases in the past where the original is destroyed and the soul then migrates to the clone, in which case that clone becomes a lot more stable and actually lives and goes on to become that individual with that individual's consciousness. But usually in the case of these controlled puppets, that's not what's going on. There's a couple clones running around that are ensouled. One is, I guess you could call him the lizard that just won't quit. He's been around since forever and been causing problems that whole time, and looks like he should probably have died 20 years ago and should have died 20 years ago.
Okay.
But he's still making problems.
Yeah.
You might have heard of him, and I'm not going to name any names, but let's just say he got ran out of the 911 commission.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that particular soul's been giving us problems since the time of Malbec.
That's quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so I think you answered that one, and yes. Here we go. That's another call. Area code 541, if you're listening, please turn down your computer. Okay, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I just had a question for Tanaath.
Please speak up.
Ask it.
Yeah, please speak up.
Okay. So my question is, I have a friend who says that he has worked with gray aliens.
Yes.
Contracted out through the government, and he said he's interacted with them, touched them, worked with them. He said that they do not speak, but they speak telepathically. I want to know if this is accurate.
That's accurate.
Yeah. And is this the part of the government that we're aware of? Is there like a secret part of the government that they work for?
That would be part of the shadow government, I guess you can call. Now, the thing about the shadow government is it's been using a lot of the resources of the United States, and it's technically operating under the supposed auspices of the United States government, but it is in fact a branch of the cabal or the elite.
That makes sense.
So it is kind of the secret version of the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they call it the shadow government.
And that's why.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually the U.S. government at all. Sure, it's using U.S. government resources. It calls itself part of the U.S. government, but it's actually just the cabal's government.
Right.
Does all this take place underneath the ground, in the underground?
Yeah, they use a number of deep underground military bases, or DUMBs, as we like to call them.
Yeah.
DUMBs, and the acronym is, we find it apropos. Especially since a lot of them have been cleaned out. Because burying it under the ground. Yeah, burying it under the ground. It's not hiding it from us. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What did you say, caller?
Oh, I was saying those were the same things that were cleared out by the ones that created those weird earthquakes. They weren't really earthquakes, but
yeah, there was a lot of that.
Like explosion quakes, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Procyon's having fun and games. It's not always the other guys who have all the fun and games. We get some too.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering if that was about. All right, well, I guess that's what I got for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, folks, you got to turn down your computer. I can hear it in the background, and it's all coming through. It would be really helpful if you would just turn down your computer and listen on the phone or however you're connecting to the studio, because there's a delay and it just doesn't sync up well.
And I tell you, nothing is more distracting than listening to yourself echo back.
Yeah, well, I'm trying not to, but like I said, it's just been one of those days. It's plenty of technical issues. Do you have any inclination as to what is causing all these sinkholes?
There's a couple theories. Now bear in mind, I don't have actual knowledge about the actual cause. We're still kind of in the dark on that too.
Okay.
But the theories that I've heard most often involve fracking, involve actual expansion of the Earth, involve the collapse of deep underground military bases and transit tunnels and whatnot.
Okay.
And involve other activities involving the lower portions of our Earth.
Right.
Now, my personal theory is that this is part of the normal Earth changes, but that it's exacerbated by deliberate attempts to cause havoc using techniques such as fracking and tunneling and other things like that.
Yeah.
You might be familiar with the term sapping.
Sapping? No.
In terms of military use.
Mm-mm.
Now, think of it this way. If you were trying to besiege a castle, castle's got great big thick walls.
Yes.
You got to get past those walls in order to take care of whatever's inside the castle. There's a few ways. Go through the wall, which might be difficult if it's several yards thick.
Right.
Go over the wall, which is going to be difficult when there's people up there pouring boiling poop down you.
Yeah.
Or go underneath and undermine the wall. That is sapping.
Okay.
I think that there is an element of sapping involved in some of these sinkholes.
Interesting. All right. It could be. I don't know. I've never seen this before. I'm only 53, but still, I've never seen anything like this before. The level of this activity is just mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm. And my friend Sunfire mentions that part of it also has to do with the planet transitioning to 4D. Okay. In some places, it's losing molecular cohesion.
Oh, my.
So if you ask me what's causing it, I would say it's probably all of the above.
Okay. All right.
Elements of all of it. Confluence of everything, right?
Yeah. Well, that's usually how life is. It's not always black and white.
Right. You never have just one cause. You know, you look at anything that happens and people will try to look at a singular cause or singular event that triggered it. No. It's almost always that's just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
There was a hay bale or two before that.
Right. did you say that the people that are part of the Silver Legion, these light warriors, that they don't know each other, or that they actually? I think you told me that there's no central authority, as it were.
Not here on the planet. There isn't a central authority, and even up there, we don't really have a central authority. We have a central organization.
Okay.
But even that is not an authority. I'm part of the command structure, and I'll be the first to tell you that when I try to, suggest something stupid, my own people will tell me, Tath, that's stupid.
Okay.
So, we're very anarchistic.
All right.
We don't get hung up on hierarchy. We don't get hung up on rank or power tripping or anything like that.
Yeah.
Instead, we really tend to collaborate, and even the ones who, if you were to compare our structure to a Terran military structure, some things would look the same. You have your fire teams and your squads, you have your brigades, you have your companies and whatnot, and up and up and up. But those are just ways to organize. They have nothing to do with the amount of power anybody has over any other individual.
Right.
Which is where it differs from an Earth hierarchy.
Yes, I know. It's all about control here. I got that.
Yeah.
Control and manipulation.
It has more to do with, how much force we're going to throw at a problem at any given time. Some problems require a fire squad. Other problems require a brigade.
Yeah, sure.
And when you need those different divisions of force or those different specific skills, because the other thing about us is we're not like a regular army. We are a bunch of oddballs.
Okay.
In any given brigade or fire team or squad or whatever, you can have any number of people who have completely different skills and talents, and they're all sort of brought together to work in on common causes and collaborate.
Right.
For instance, we have at our higher level of organization, everybody belongs to a division. And those divisions are mentioned on the website. And each of those divisions is a specialist division in that the people who are in those divisions do specific things. Like Raven is our spies. Destiny is our
sorry,
spies.
what? Spies?
Our information gatherers.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
Raven
yeah.
division is our information gatherers. Yeah.
Okay.
Destiny division is our psionicists.
What
Codal
is it?
is our
What is that? I'm sorry.
wizards and magics.
What is
psionicists?
Yes.
So psionicists are people who use psionic or psychic abilities.
Yeah.
And these can be used, a lot of the times Destiny does stuff like looking into the time streams and figuring out what's going to happen before it happens. Sometimes they're doing things like helping out with mental healing. There is some mind reading that goes on, and I'll draw a distinction between mind reading and telepathy.
Okay.
Telepathy is a form of communication. Mind reading is a form of extracting information. And it can be done without the consent of the person, but usually unless they're, your enemy and you're trying to kill them, we get consent first.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah. Consent is a big thing. Trust is a big thing. But also, psionicists are the ones who do things like levitating things with their mind. We draw a distinction between psionicists and people who use magic. And we have the rare person who does both.
Huh.
Magic uses different principles of action and different power sources, which is why we draw the distinction. And there are many, many, many different kinds of magic. And since we draw our recruits from not only this universe, but other universes within this multiverse, there are many, many different kinds of magic that are represented in our Codal division. A squad or a fire team, or the other way that we're organized is by that, squad, fire team, company, brigade, etc. Those are usually made up of members from different divisions working together. So they work together and they establish a rapport with each other, and you'll have somebody, say, like a wavefront healer. Wavefront's our healing division. A Destiny psionicist who's looking out for the mental health and maybe looking into the future to predict untoward events before they happen so that they can be changed.
Yes.
Maybe a raven information gatherer, and maybe a couple of breaker butt kickers, the muscle.
Yeah.
And they're all working together, and they know each other's strengths and their weaknesses, and they know where they can shore each other up, and who's going to need what kind of protection, and who's going to have the best strength to accomplish whatever the goals are, and they go together and they coordinate.
I see.
That's how we operate.
I see.
And then we just take that from the smallest size, which would be, the 3-man fire team,
right,
all the way up to, if we have to mobilize thousands, we do.
With thousands of
Silver Legionnaires.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you guys obviously been working on this for... Oh, okay. See, this is why I have to... as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm looking and looking and looking for an answer to my problem. I think I just found it buried in...
Let me guess, it's one of those things that's just, like, obvious but not obvious?
Yeah, it's buried in the... Well, it's found in this thing called sound. Yeah, Oh,
Microphone boost?
Yeah, no, oh, Jesus. It's like flying an airplane here, what I'm doing, okay? There's so many different things that have to interface in order for this thing to work. And, it functions, doesn't mean it's doing very well, though. There's a difference between functioning and functioning well, right?
Yes.
So I've been trying...
It's like me on Monday morning as opposed to Friday night.
Well,
the difference between functioning and functioning well.
Yeah, the thing is, I knew this problem. I mean, there's always these issues, and it's just me. It's me, a lack of understanding or technical savvy. Because really, all I'd like to do is a show, but that's not possible because I'm engineering the entire process, before, during, and afterwards. That's part of my... That's part of what I do here, so...
and that's why I prefer just to be a guest or a talker, because I just don't have the patience or the time. Yeah,
I know it's not for everybody, and it like I said, I started off on Blog Talk, and it was the audio quality was horrible, and so I after doing that for a while, I left, and I've been looking for a long time, and then I finally figured it out, and that's how I ended up creating my own radio station so that I could do my own show without any kind of limitations up to a point, obviously. And but that was it has been and still is, I'm telling you right now, there isn't a day that goes by where I am not challenged on some level by something to do with this job, because I'm wearing way too many hats at one time. But you know what? You only go around once. At least I think I'm only going to do one more tour of duty here, and then I'm done. So, but anyway, it's like, as much as I enjoy it, it is absolutely maddening sometimes trying to figure this out. And you would think it's just really straightforward, right? But there's so many different layers of controls that you have available, and unless you check them all like 2 or 3 times, and even then it's not always, like I said, part of this is I'm learning on the job. I mean, with Blog Talk, it was very, very straightforward. With this thing, I literally had to patch I had to start from scratch. I had to patch all these things together, not only with cables, with virtual cables, gets one software to speak to another software, and like I said, as much as if I wasn't passionate about this, I would I think I would have given up a long time ago. Just like most people do, said, "Oh, forget it. I'll pay to be on somebody else's show or station." And so anyway, that's I'm sorry to ramble about that, but it is. It's a kind of a thing that sometimes where I just literally have dreams that I'm still sitting here trying to figure it out. And maybe I am. Maybe part of me is literally still stuck here in spirit, looking at it from a non-physical point, going, well, the answer is really quite simple. You just open the sound button, and then somewhere buried behind another layer is and that's really what I was just talking to you about. It was so weird. Yeah, okay, so you find sound, right? And then I have to find the exact, no, not just any sound. I have to find the exact line that I'm speaking on. And then when I double-clicked on it, it opened up a volume control that I've never seen before, that I didn't even know existed. and it was at like 80%. And believe me, it makes a difference because people are trying to listen to our conversation, and your voice is like 3 times louder. It's distracting, you know.
Did you ever work radio back in the day, back when it was all pots and soundboards?
No, absolutely not.
I did actually. Well, I didn't. I trained. I
Okay.
trained radio on those old stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it was simple. It was straightforward. It was easy to control.
Yeah.
And there is no way in heck we would be able to do something like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was expensive as heck and required, immense amounts of electricity to broadcast short distances.
Yeah. Actually, where I live, there are terrestrial antennas right on a waterfront, and the reason they parked it there is because, from what I was told, one of the Native Americans told me, he said that they can broadcast much further at that location than any other.
Yeah, because it reflects off the water.
Yeah, it does, and so now, ironically, like I said, I can see those antenna out my backyard, but I can broadcast all around the planet, just through this little setup in my studio, as long as the internet is working. So, and the funny thing is too, or ironically, is almost all the terrestrial stations are on the internet now. They have to be in order to compete. So it's I would not be completely adverse. I mean, and I do some shows with other people that go out over the terrestrial signal, the standard FM or AM, and I've actually done both. And but that's just me being interviewed. Okay, it's a lot harder to actually do a show where you're hosting, you're booking the guests, you're engineering the thing, and then you're building an archive in your spare time. So
yeah, it's a
crazy.
heavy job.
Well, look, I don't mind. Somebody's got to do it. But all right, we're back, folks. Thank you for your patience. I know that sometimes these things get a little tedious, but we are back. And Tanaath, I hope you're still there. Hello.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Thank you for hanging in there. I'm still tinkering here. So let me turn this down. Some people really don't like the fact that I'm playing background music. I know you can't hear it, but it's very faint and just sort of sets a mood. At least that's the way I look at it.
That's okay. I have some background noise, and I'm trying to mute myself so it doesn't come through.
Yeah, all right. We all have issues. And, God, I read something yesterday that absolutely floored me, was about the intentional wrecking of the economy. It was a memo that got leaked. The guy's name was Greg Palast, that actually wrote this article about this memo that someone had leaked to him. And
oh, yeah, I read that actually just before the show.
Oh, okay. Was that amazing or what?
Well, at this point for me it's pretty old news. But yeah, it is pretty amazing that we're starting to see stuff like this come out.
Yeah.
And not just come out on the margins, on the shady fringes of the internet. Yeah. But in well-traveled spheres.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he was naming names, and I read the whole thing on the air yesterday because sometimes I just like to be verbose. But I think it's important people know this. That it was a deliberate act, and these people absolutely should go to jail. At the very least, they should be spending time in jail instead of being in government or in these organizations like the World Trade Organization. Simply has to cease. I mean, so is that something that your group is addressing somehow, without giving me specifics?
We're
generally
working with people who are more equipped to address that kind of thing than we are.
All right.
When it comes to finances, we don't really have any interaction
Okay.
with Terran money at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you. It's pretty ridiculous. The whole system
Well,
is.
not only that, but it's a matter of how do we interface with the system.
Yeah.
When we don't have, other than incarnates, we don't have physical people on the ground, so they can't open bank accounts or anything like that, and we have limited ability in which we can interface directly with the computer systems that control the financial system.
Okay.
So, there's another thing, and I apologize for the noise in the background there.
That's all right.
My roommate it's her turn to make dinner.
Okay. What's for dinner?
She is, and it's
What's for dinner?
beef roast.
It
It
what?
smells absolutely divine. Beef roast.
Beef roast. Okay.
Yes, it smells absolutely divine.
Okay. I'm assuming there's some nice herbs involved in this.
Yeah, there would be what we call Montreal steak spice and lots of garlic.
Nice. Okay. I'm coming over for dinner now.
Sure, we'll expect you when the next plane comes in.
Yeah. No, I already ate. I'm
By the
sorry.
way.
Just teasing you. I'm just having fun.
Mm-hmm. But we are working through incarnates and as much as possible, working with some of the groups that are involved in rectifying the financial situation.
Yeah.
And as you may already know that I'm involved with Drake, and Drake is involved with Neil Keenan.
Okay.
And Neil Keenan is one of the actors who is attempting to, and I don't mean actors as in Hollywood, I mean actors as in somebody who gets something done.
Yes.
Who is attempting to rectify the financial situation. And while I don't know finances from a hole in the ground, my people have vetted Neil and like him a lot.
Good.
So, I trust my people.
Well, that's good. Now, what did you mean that they're not physically here?
Well, as opposed to, we have incarnates, and incarnates are physically here, living as humans, born in human bodies, souls in humans, basically, right?
Right.
As opposed to walk-ins or possessions or anything like that.
Okay.
Like me, I was born in this body. It's mine. I didn't take it over. It's mine by right.
Okay.
I'm an incarnate, meaning that in addition to being human, my soul comes from out there, and I'm awake, aware, and working on a mission, a deliberate mission that involves living here and being a human here.
Right. Okay.
With awareness of this fact. A lot of incarnates are sleeping, but those who are awake are usually working on their mission or trying to figure out how to work on their mission.
I see.
We have had difficulties. The Silver Legion has had difficulties manifesting our personnel on this planet.
Okay.
We will call these technical difficulties. It can be done. We've done it on other planets. We've even managed it once or twice here. But there is interference, deliberate interference, that is specifically aimed at trying to keep us from doing just this thing.
Oh, that makes sense. Unfortunately, that makes way too much sense. Well, now, can you describe who are these? I mean, what groups are here that are really messing things up?
Well, do you want terrestrial groups or extraterrestrial groups? Because there's both. Right?
Yeah, let's start with the terrestrial troublemakers.
Well, speaking in broad terms, we have the Cabal.
Yes.
And the Cabal is, while we think of it as a sort of monolithic group, it is actually made up of many, many different factions. Okay. Some of whom work together and some of whom war each other, but they all have one common group, or one common goal in mind, and that is setting themselves up as the absolute rulers of this planet.
Okay.
And all on it.
Right.
Within that group, we have multiple divisions. Some of them are involved in finance, some of them are involved in politics, some of them are involved in spirituality, etc., etc., etc. And they have divisions among themselves. For instance, you have the Rothschild group, which is opposed to the Rockefeller group, even though they sometimes work together. They are rivals.
Yes, of course.
It's to the point where they will work together to ensure the common goal, and then they'll probably go at each other like wolverines in order to find out who rules overall, right?
Right. Right, absolutely.
There are I would say in terms of the terrestrial threat, they're the biggest one. There are other small pockets and groups that are not nearly as extensive, most of whom are backed by other extraterrestrial groups that are, in it for their own goals, causing problems for their own goals. And we don't know all of them by any means.
Sure.
Because the sheer nature of it means that it's almost impossible to categorize everyone. We don't have the resources to categorize every single person on this planet. There are people who are in it for self-interest, groups or individuals who are in it for self-interest to further their own goals, who aren't associated with any of the above.
Right.
There are groups of neutrals or positives who are working together.
Don't know what I did there. Go ahead.
There's groups of neutrals or positives who are working together, or, collaborating with each other or working on their own in order to help make things better.
Yes.
And some of these are collaborating, and others are just, flying on their own. And I would consider these people to be putative allies. Because they're essentially working for the same goals and doing the same thing as we are, just different methods and different, maybe, specialties. Our specialty is military. We deal specifically with off-world threats and, removing things like nuclear weapons.
Okay, that's a good thing.
But other groups might deal with things like, gifting, Orgonite. Have you heard of Orgonite or the
No, what is
gifting?
It? No, what is it?
Gifting is when Orgonite is a substance that is, it helps produce orgone, or life energy.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Which has been variously called, It's been variously called prana, ki, or chi, things like that.
Yeah.
But Orgonite is used to basically rebalance orgone, or life energy, to be more supportive towards life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Often what gifting is taking Orgonite and putting it in places where, bad prana is being generated, and using it to transform it back into good prana. So, for instance, seeding, say, a transformer array, or putting it, burying it at the feet of a high-tension wire, for instance, things like that. So there's a lot of groups going around doing activities like that. There's a lot of groups that are involved more with the financial side. There's groups that are involved more with some of the, the creation and distribution of technologies that are beneficial to the environment and beneficial to humanity. There's people who are involved with the ecological side, helping prevent ecological disaster, cleaning up pollution, other things like that. There are so many different groups, so many different people who are all working, oftentimes completely independently of other groups or without even knowing it. But all of us are working together. It's a very decentralized thing. There is no leader. There is no authority. And that's why this is working. Because if there was an authority or a leader, that could be taken out. And then the whole thing falls apart.
Of course.
But this kind of anarchistic, decentralized model, where half the time most of the people don't even realize that there's other groups doing the same thing, it ensures redundancy and it ensures success.
Yes, I see that. Interesting.
And it just drives the elite crazy because they keep looking for ringleaders, only to find out that there are none. There might be leaders on a micro level, but in terms of the whole endeavor, there's no ringleaders.
Wow. Well, that's,
and yet it's
good.
not a confused mess. It's still working somehow.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like the internet. It's very decentralized, That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. And I'm sorry for being distracted, but I am still trying to figure something out here, and it seems to be working. I hope to God this is working finally. Just ridiculous. Okay, now on your website, you make a distinction between light warriors and light workers. I thought that was interesting. I never heard anybody do that before. Do you want to tell people what that means?
Sure. Light warriors are a subset of light workers. light workers is a sort of a generalized category. Basically, anybody who does this kind of humanitarian spirit work is a light worker.
Yeah.
Light.
Hold on. Turn down your computer. I'm sorry. Area code 440. Please turn down your computer.
Hello?
Yes. Hold on, please. Tanaath was talking. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, light warriors then are, I guess you could say, the military or defense-oriented version of light workers.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, for instance, you have trees.
Yes.
And then you have birch trees.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Caller, did you have a question or comment?
Yes.
Speak up,
hello,
please.
Robert. Hello, Tanaath.
Yes, hi.
I know you probably have heard of John Lear. And
yes.
He's talked to George Noory several times. I think you have too. And he has mentioned on one of the interviews that every person on the planet, each and every one of us, is taken to the moon by a group of ETs to be monitored during, say, 3 or 4 times in a lifetime. I was wondering if Tanaath could say anything about that, if it's true or not, or what she thinks about that.
We have found no evidence.
Okay, thank you.
We have found no evidence to indicate that this is the case.
All right.
That this is anything more than a claim. Now, there are facilities on the moon.
Yes.
And yes, some people have been taken to them, but it's nowhere near as global as each and every person on the planet. Usually, well, there is one respect in which most people end up in those facilities, and that is, until we took most of them out, everybody who died on this planet ended up in those facilities being processed. And by processed, I mean they were subjected to all kinds of false realities and jiggery-pokery to get them, to convince them to come back down here. It was part of the incarnation or reincarnation soul trap. Now, reincarnation is a fact of existence out there.
Yeah.
But reincarnation back specifically into Earth over and over and over again with no memory of it, that is not natural. That was the result of what we call a soul trap. Which was designed to basically wipe out our memories and make us forget who and what we are and what our power is over lifetimes.
I see. Yeah. Well, it's just another, it makes sense, a revolving door for controlling people.
Yeah.
Or souls, as it were.
And one usage of the term archons has to do with those lords of karma, as they call themselves, who are those beings who monitored the soul traps and the reincarnation process and were part of the apparatus that convinced people come back. So what it would be like is you would die, you'd go to one of those holding pens, you'd get processed, you come face to face with one of these people who took care to appear to you as something out of your own cultural mythos and religious beliefs so that you would believe them and think that you ended up where you were supposed to when you were dying.
Yeah.
And they would say, well, look, this is your life. Look at all these mistakes you made. You have to go back and fix this.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to laugh that hard.
Yeah.
All I'm seeing is, the needle jumps to red. I've just gone over my limits. Well, it's a bit of a circus here, actually, this 3-ring circus we live in, and sometimes it does make me laugh, but other days I just wish, I could go on vacation permanently from this assignment, but and I'm not talking about the show, I'm just talking about things on Earth here. I mean, my gosh, I know this is a little off topic, but it's one of the things that they've done is divided us against each other through many different means. And right now, they're once again using the false narrative of race when we're all part of the human race. They're trying to say that some of us are less than human, and therefore we should hate each other. I mean, it's just insane. I don't know.
In the Silver Legion, because we're made up of so many different species.
Yeah.
And people from different origins and universes even, the whole notion of hating somebody because of their race is laughable for a lot of us. We don't even see there being an actual division of race on this planet.
No, there
to
isn't.
Us,
there isn't.
This planet is full of Terran human beings.
Right, that's
as far
the species.
as race goes, they're Terrans.
Yes, that's right.
The whole purpose of this planet and of the human population on this planet is to take the genetic stock of 24 different planets and mix them.
Oh, I
which
see.
We have.
I see. Oh, so
we
okay.
have to a great extent.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, why not?
Yeah, getting mad at somebody over a matter of race kind of defeats the whole purpose of why human beings were on this planet in the first place.
Well, it does, but it does. Okay, but it serves the purpose of dividing us one against each other.
It's a construct.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a sociologist by trade. I actually have a master's degree in sociology, and one of my areas of concentration was race and ethnicity.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with exactly how race is a social construct.
Yes.
Race is not a natural thing. If you take even, say, for instance, the people of sub-Saharan Africa, you will find greater genetic diversity between ethnic groups than you will if you compare them to, say, the people of Northern Africa or the people of the Mediterranean or even the people of Northern Europe. There is more diversity between individual tribes and ethnic groups than there is between the supposed races as a whole.
Interesting. But it's still, I mean, it's not that great. It's not like we're talking the difference between, apes and humans. I mean, we're just
No, it's not.
They're just other humans.
General,
I mean,
we're talking about a matter of a percentage point or less.
Yeah.
In terms of difference.
Yeah.
And yet we have people willing to kill each other over this.
Well, again,
it's just as artificial a construct as religion.
Right.
For the same reasons.
And that is yes, you're right. That is one of the other mechanisms, the mainstream mechanism or belief system that was designed basically to divide us up so that we could be more easily controlled. Definitely. Organized religion is something that is, it's illogical to say the least, but it's also not a pathway to higher consciousness. Or peace. Yeah, or peace, or creativity. It's just another cult. Every last one of those groups, in my opinion, is a cult. And I'm sorry for all the people who feel offended by that statement, but that's my opinion, and I think it's backed up by fact. I mean, look, I'm just not a person to take anything as a matter of faith in a world that's utterly corrupt. I think every human institution is corrupt, so why would religion be any different?
Yeah, and it's been corrupted for a reason, and the reason why all our human institutions have been corrupted is in order to stand as mechanisms of control over individuals and societies. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Religion, actually, to me, is it's like a spiritual government. It's just another way to. They are the gatekeepers, whoever these the priests are. The gatekeepers, and the same thing is true for science. Most of what they tell us is theory, but they present it as fact.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, enough of my pontificating. I will get off my soapbox now.
Well, I don't know. You can pontificate all you want, because I agree with most of it. I think, we got our nice little groupthink and yes men going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, well... Yeah, just don't get me started in punditry, because I'm not really good about politics. I tend to start raising my voice and cursing. When
it comes to politics, I see the whole thing as ridiculous. I think
it is.
Probably based on my personal beliefs of society, most people would consider me, I did a political test once. Apparently I'm a libertarian leftist.
Okay, whatever that is.
If you can imagine such a thing.
Yeah, sure. No, but that's the problem. Everybody has to fit into a category, and if you're not this, then you can't. If you're in this category, then you can't be in the other category. I mean, there's no crossover. Everything has got to be segmented and dissected, and I think it's just ridiculous.
It's also artificial.
Yeah, it truly is.
It's also artificial because nowadays the way it is the categories control control the people rather than the people controlling the categories.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, for instance, if you identify, for instance, as conservative,
Yeah.
there are certain activities and lines of thought that you have to adhere to,
Right.
or you lose that tag,
Right.
and then you're no longer conservative. And then what do you do with yourself?
Well, then you get
that's
cast
not how
out.
reality works.
Yeah, you get
that's not how reality
excommunicated.
works. Have your political beliefs and have them genuinely, regardless of whether or not the puppet with the hand up the ass on the left or the puppet with the hand on the up the ass on the right says you can or can't.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe in a right to bear arms. I'm Canadian. I own a rifle.
Okay.
I have done all my certifications and had my safety stuff, and I legally own a rifle in Canada.
Good.
And I sure as heck don't ascribe to the political ideologies that they tell me as a rifle owner I should.
Well, like what? What do they tell you you're supposed to do if you own a gun?
Well, up here in Canada, if you own a rifle, you're expected to be conservative.
Oh, I see.
But I sure as heck don't ascribe to the politics of Harper or Danielle Smith or any of those people who are running around calling themselves conservatives.
Okay.
I don't really ascribe to any of their politics. In fact, the last movement I had any interest in was the rhinos.
Okay. Now you told me that your soul has, I guess, a primary incarnation as a dragon. Can you explain that to me a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, when I'm not living down here as a human, I'm a dragon.
Okay.
Up there in the higher dimensions.
Yeah.
My form is a dragon. My species is dragon. Now, I've been human many times. Now here's the fun thing about identity.
Okay.
Anytime you get born as something, you are legitimately that thing. So I'm legitimately human.
Uh-huh.
And I'm legitimately a few other things, because I've been a few other things.
All right.
I'm legitimately Tau Cetian. I've had a few lifetimes as a Tau Cetian. I'm legitimately a phoenix. I've had a lifetime as a phoenix. But I would say that I am a dragon. Why? That is, I guess you could say, the first thing that I've been, and it's also the thing that sort of sticks with me. Now, that's
Sure.
the fun thing about being a dragon. If you become a dragon, once a dragon, you're always a dragon.
Yeah.
It's sticky. It doesn't leave you.
All right. Okay, hang on.
But like I said,
Go.
There's not necessarily any conflict between being a dragon and being a human. You can be more than one thing at the same time, be 100% dragon, 100% human, and still be legitimate in all those things.
Right. Caller, are you there? 808, are you on the line?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just called in. I didn't have a question.
You do not have a question?
Oh, you're just listening?
What's that?
Are you just listening on the phone?
Oh, yeah, I'm just listening. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So should I push a number to speak off? Or,
I didn't. Okay, now this is curious to me. Could you actually hear the show before I put you on the line? Or was it just...
Oh, yeah. I came on, Tanaath was talking, and I was like, oh, right on.
God. Okay. I didn't know. I'd see... yes?
Do you have a question?
Are you taking questions?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
I was wondering about maybe like a universal law. Do you guys have anything about that?
About universal laws?
Yeah,
there
like
are universal laws. Now, the thing with universal laws is that they are not things like thou shalt not pick your nose. They are things like gravity.
Yeah.
Gravity is a universal law. In order to break that universal law, you have to use special equipment or techniques. Because gravity is always going to be there, or not there, depending on the particular condition that you're in, regardless of whether you believe in it or not, regardless of whether you're intentionally trying to break the law or not. So gravity is a universal law.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It was just kind of something that popped in my head one night. I was like, is there like a universal law. But that makes sense, you know.
Yeah,
There are things
you
that,
you can't break a universal law. The best you can do is modify it with special equipment or abilities in order to act in certain ways. And at the same time, if you break a universal law, nobody's going to come and arrest you for this. There's no jail time. There's no universal law cops.
Okay, area code 760. Please turn down your computer.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I'm on the line with you guys, but should I push a button to get
just
off
mute
the
yourself.
Yeah,
you can probably continue to listen, but just mute yourself, and that way we won't get background noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, area code 760. Go ahead. What's on your mind? Can you hear me? Hello? Area code 760. Are you listening? Nope. They got spooked. Yeah. All right. Fine. Whatever.
So yeah, you were asking me about being a dragon.
Yeah.
Just like, there are certain, I guess you could call them archetypes of species. Dragon is one, human is another.
Right.
You know, you'll also see a few others like elf. I don't know all of them by any means, but I'm definitely familiar with dragon, and I'm definitely familiar with human.
Yeah.
And you'll see humans of all shapes, sizes, color, stripe. Yeah, heck, some of them are striped. From different origins. And when I say different origins, I mean some of them may have a common ancestors. Others will have spontaneously evolved in their own context.
Huh.
Humans on this planet, we are descended from 24 other human species who got together in a kind of a social experiment and genetic experiment to see what would happen when they all interbred.
Okay.
We have 24 common ancestors, who may in turn have common ancestors among themselves, and some of whom are spontaneous generation of their own. So you've got humans all over the galaxy, you've got humans all over the universe. This universe is predominantly human. Most of the people running around in this universe are human.
Right.
Or I would say upwards of about 60%. The rest are made up of other archetypes, of which one is dragon. Now the draconic archetype, just like humans come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and colors, dragons come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and colors. Some have wings, some don't. Some got scales, some got feathers, some breathe fire, some don't. Some are running around with animal-level intellect, just like there's some, I won't call them humans, but the human archetype that runs around with animal-level intellect is called an ape monkey.
Right.
Just like we have, the felid archetype. The felid archetype that runs around with animal-level intellect is called a cat or a great cat.
Right.
And the canid archetype that runs around with animal-level intellect is called a dog or a wolf or a coyote or things like that.
Yes.
There's intelligent bipedal versions of those running around too.
Of course.
And they're an archetype as well. So a draconic archetype, we tend to be, not always, but we tend to be large. We tend to be stretched out, have a long nose and a long body. Most of the time we have wings, but not all have wings.
Yes.
A lot of the times we have scales and horns and other protuberances, but again, not all of them. My particular species is made out of minerals, in that our bodies are made out of rock or metal.
Wow.
Our nervous system is crystalline. Our brains are crystalline. Our digestion involves taking matter and splitting it not into protons, neutrons, and electrons, but into quarks, and then reforging it back into whatever our particular bodies need. Which is why a iron dragon can eat the same thing that a copper dragon eats, and end up still being an iron dragon or a copper dragon.
Okay.
Because they just take whatever they need, take whatever they eat, and break it down into whatever they need. Right. It also means that the processes of my digestion are mildly radioactive and very, very hot.
Wow.
So that's where my fire breath comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. Area code 760, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, I did. I have a comment and a question.
Go ahead.
It's very nice to speak to you. I've listened to every single show. And
Hi.
Hi. And I've listened to, Tolik's, all of Tolik's interviews. And I followed all you guys. Alex Coyer's work. It's just amazing to me. I feel like I just learned it, though. I feel like I just am grasping what's really going on. But I'm not really totally
grasping it. It takes a while. It takes a while, and everybody's at different levels. And there is no, let's put it this way, whatever rate you learn at is appropriate for you. Don't feel like you're falling behind.
No, I don't. I feel like every time I listen to you, I learn something about myself, and then I share it with people, and I do it during the day, or I find myself mentioning, just dropping things to people, and they're pretty open to it.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. People are getting more open to this kind of thing. So, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I just wondered. I noticed that you don't agree with Tolik on a couple of things, like the Tacoma and the Nihuhe.
Nihuhe. Oh yeah.
I don't understand. Can you tell me why that is?
Well, we're not getting the same readings of that star and that planet being physically in the system as Tolik's people are. Now, it could be that they're operating from a slightly different reality or timeline than we are. When it comes to things like that, not everybody's always on the same timeline. One thing we will say, I'm really not sure how. We can all be on different timelines, and there are some things that will come together as sort of a greater point of commonality, things that are shared. We don't believe that will be a shared event with us here on this planet. That's not to say that we're calling them a liar or anything like that. It's just that we don't agree that will be a shared event on this planet with us. It's all a matter of perspective in a lot of ways. Reality is not a singular cut and dried thing.
I'm getting that now.
Yes, it is a big mess. A lot of it is subjective. And when we talk about, you'll hear the term co-creation thrown about a lot in these circles. Well, that's part of what it is. In co-creation, it is when multiple beings come together to create a common reality. Now, they have all their own separate realities, but there's certain things or commonalities that they'll agree on. But one thing that we will be absolutely adamant on, and this is whether or not Nihohaya and Tacoma are part of our shared reality or not, they will not lead to catastrophic disaster and mass loss of life.
No, right. No, and Tolik said that too. And I don't believe in any of the fear stuff, the fear porn. I don't watch it. I got rid of my TV a couple of years ago, and I feel so much better.
Caller? Caller, can you hear me?
Yes.
So when you were listening online before I brought you on, could you actually hear, was my voice, was my level okay? Could you hear what I was saying as well as Tanaath?
Yes.
You could?
Yes, I could.
Okay. I can sleep. Okay, good. I can sleep well tonight.
Yay.
And I just want to thank you, Tanaath, also. Thank you so much. I know you've had it hard, and you inspire me so much.
Well, I think, subjectively speaking, everybody on the planet has had it hard.
This is a school of hard knocks.
I'm not in a one-upmanship contest to say I've had it worse than others. Comparatively speaking, there's others who've got it a lot worse than I do. But yeah, it hasn't been a cakewalk for anyone here, especially not me.
No, I know. I don't have it easy either. I've had lots of issues, but I have. They all sort of seem to not really be a problem when you know who you are and where you're at.
Right.
Because you realize they're not really permanent. They're not.
Yeah, but it still, it doesn't, even knowing this, even objectively knowing that, this is, it does not make it easier. And you
right.
still
I mean,
have to
still without money, you can't buy food. And
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to work to make that money somehow. And anyway. So I just literally wanted to thank you because I love everything that you say. I resonate with you so much. I just really
I'm glad to
appreciate
hear
you.
that. And it's resonation is important, and I will be the first to tell people if what I say does not resonate with you, don't feel obligated to take what I say. Go find your own truth.
No, of course.
Use your discernment, follow your resonance.
Own discernment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've always been doing. And I've known about all this other stuff that's been going on. I put it in the back of my head and forgot about it for a while.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was just saying about reality. The nature of reality is such that we can all be right without contradicting one another. But at the same time, how many other people do you want in your life?
Or need.
How much do you want to share? Yeah, or need. How much do you want to share with other people in a common way? Because if you want to insist that everybody else in the universe is wrong, well, you're going to have a lot of fun being alone with nobody else there. It gets pretty boring after.
No, I don't. It's better to agree with somebody than to disagree, and because their opinion is just their opinion.
And there's certain things that I'm not about to agree on, and those are anything that involves the oppression of the people on this planet. For one,
definitely.
I'm
They've
not
had enough of that.
Exactly. I'm not going to agree to a reality that includes the elites winning and most of us dying and the rest of us living in slavery and suffering. I'm just not going to.
That's absolutely right.
And I'm going to encourage anybody who doesn't want to experience this. You don't agree with it either. And by not agreeing,
I don't. No, I don't agree with it. And I tell people all the time, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And
part of disagreeing with it is refusing to buy in or believe in that line of thinking or that particular outcome. Because the more you buy into something, the more you agree with it.
That's why I don't watch television or the news or any of the shows or any of this, because I don't want to support that reality because I know it's not a real reality and it's really enslavement.
Well, it's a false reality, but it's one that they're trying to make real, and that's why they're trying to impose it on us.
Yeah.
And that, again, goes back to when I was talking about the reincarnation traps. The whole purpose beyond that, the whole purpose of all of these reincarnation traps to continually wipe us out and bring us back over and over and over again, is to reinforce the false reality to the point where we believe it so deeply that we manifest it. And this is why some of
what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what they've been trying to do, and that's what we're fighting here.
Yeah.
And that's also why those of us who are fairly recent visitors to Earth, in terms of maybe haven't spent all that many lifetimes on here, or maybe got away and then came back to incarnate, that's why this place feels so effed up.
It feels
because it is such a jarring.
When I was a kid, I never felt like I belonged here, and actually my nickname was Martian, and I felt like I was from another planet. And I thought people were just really mean here, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And, but I understand why they are mean. They didn't really know all what they're doing. So.
Yeah, and as a sociologist, to me, it has always been very, very fascinating how people know how to behave in society. Because when I was a kid, I had no idea. Yet everybody else around me seemed to know automatically what to do and what was normal, and I had to be taught. Well, most of those people have been here a few times. I'd done it here for about 2,000 years and managed to escape on my own.
Wow.
Then came back to do this mission. But I was fresh enough from being back in what I call the real world to make this place a jarring and alien landscape.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for coming back. I have one more quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just had a question about our relatives who passed on. You said earlier that if they passed on in the last 50 years, that they would be in 4D.
Turn down your computer, please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're likely in 4D right now, and the reason for that is going through the reincarnation thing, going through the soul trap is not an instant process. It takes about 40 to 50 years of conditioning.
40 to 50?
Yes,
Wow.
40 to 50 years of conditioning to take a soul who has recently passed and trick them into coming back. It doesn't feel like 40 to 50 years, but objectively speaking from the point of view of this planet, that's the time that takes place. And
so
that's
those are
why
all
I say
gone now,
anybody
right? They're not no more?
Likely anybody who, and this is, barring the instance of somebody who comes back right away, because sometimes people do that. But anybody who's gone through the soul trap likely took up to about 50 years to get there. That's why I say anybody who's died within the last 50 years was likely in those soul traps being conditioned when we got to them and was rescued.
Okay, so where are they now? Are they up on an Andromeda Council biosphere?
Actually, most of them are on the biospheres because it's the only place where they can get the deconditioning that they need in order to function. And from there, it's up to them what they wish to do. Some of them have chosen to incarnate again. Others have just said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going back in that place. I'm going to wait here for my loved ones and relatives and greet them at the door.
Right, because I feel like I have people waiting up there for me right now.
You likely do.
Okay, and we've got people waiting in line here to ask more questions. So
thank you, John.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So area code 501, you're on. Go ahead.
Really?
That would be you. Speak up, please.
How's everybody doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good. My question is, I don't want to ask something that's like already been put out there somewhere, so if it has, just tell me.
Okay.
But the Andromeda Council, or what have you, seems to be, they said they were pretty confident about January of 2014 for this, this fourth dimension to hit us. Are you able to say what makes them so much more confident about that date than others?
We have no idea where they're pulling this out because we don't perceive time the same way. So we don't know why they fixated on that date. Maybe they've taken a look at the newspaper dates on the day that it happens and gone from there. But, scried into the future and taken a look. But we don't like dates at all. We don't like to pick dates. We know that sometimes dates can move around.
Well, not only that, Tanaath, the future's not fixed as far as I know.
No, it isn't. It's not fixed. And while we regard ascension as a matter of fact, as something that will take place on this planet, we don't agree that it is tied to a specific date, more of a time frame. We expect it to occur before 2015.
Okay.
So considering that, if anyone comes down here that's not from here, and they claim to be like clairvoyant or what, like knowing the future and stuff, then even if they're Andromedan, they're effectively lying.
Well,
because the future's not really
yes and
fixed,
no.
so they can't 100%
there is no guaranteed like this will happen. Exactly at this point at this time. Looking at the future is like lying at the base of an oak tree and looking up and saying which branch is going to happen.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Right.
Now, I want you to go find a tree, lie down, look up, and tell me which one is the real branch.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
All you can do is pick the thickest ones or the most likely ones based on the current situation. And this moves around all the time. Some events have very big impacts on which branch is which, on which one we end up perceiving.
Right.
Other events have very small. For instance, if you drop a glass on the ground and it breaks, for every potential possibility that different way that glass could have broken, there is a future of that. But it's not likely to be a significant future because the only thing that would really differ is which way that glass broke.
Right.
But if you take a very, very big event like, say, a natural disaster, or the passing of a very significant socially significant person, or something like that, and there's different ways that could have turned out. Well, there'll be different timelines generated for each of those different ways that could have turned out, and they're likely to be more significant than your glass breaking.
Right. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers it. I appreciate it. I'll get out of y'all's hair now and get back to the show.
No, that you are part of the show. Come on now. All right. Thanks for calling. Area code 704. You're on. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm back again. I have one observation. This week, speaking of dragons, there was a headline in mainstream news. It said, "Dragon corpse washes ashore in Spain," and it was 13 feet long, and mainstream researchers from different universities around the world are studying it and researching it, etc. It didn't look like one of those Komodo dragons, nothing like that, because they're saying it's extremely odd, like a Loch Ness monster or a real dragon or something. So I'm asking Tanaath, are there dragons on the Earth at this time? And I'll take my answer offline.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that. I know that there are dragons here who are higher dimensional. I don't know if there's any physical 3D dragons.
Huh?
There were at one point.
Yeah.
For instance, my own bloodline, escaping the destruction that happened to my own planet, used a universe gate that managed to deposit some of my descendants in what is now known as China.
Oh, okay.
Now, they weren't the only dragons out there that did this. Like I said, just it's an archetype. Multiple groups have come come to this planet to visit or whatnot in the past. Some of them haven't been nice. Some of them have been nice.
Right.
But I do know that at some time there have been physical 3D dragons on this planet.
Yeah.
Now, my species wouldn't leave a skeleton. When we die, we tend to either go thermonuclear or dissolve into the earth and dissipate. So we wouldn't leave. We'd either leave a crater or a ore deposit.
Right. So
neither of which would be recognized by science as a dragon skeleton.
It reminds me of the myth of the phoenix.
Yeah, the phoenix, which bursts into flames, turns into ashes, and then rises again from the ashes as an egg.
Yeah. So, what do you remember about Tau Ceti?
Tau Ceti is, if you can Google it, it's part of the Cetus constellation. It's about 11 or 10 light years from here.
Yes.
The inhabitants of the Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani systems, and it's both, they are humans. They range in size from about 6 feet to about 8 feet. The Epsilon Eridani tend to be taller. The Tau Ceti A, B, and C humans tend to be shorter because it is a trinary system.
Yes.
They tend to be tan-skinned, like Mediterranean-looking, with straight hair. Although there are there are some who have curly hair. And that curly hair genetics comes from mostly from the Androni of the Antares system, because there has been interbreeding with them. And they tend to have pointed ears and actually pointed teeth. And again, the pointed ears and the pointed teeth comes from feline genetics, because there was some crossbreeding with intelligent felinoids way back in time. So the Tau Cetians are the people whom Spock and the Vulcans were based off of from Star Trek.
What about the taller ones?
And actually, there was
you said there was
the
also
taller ones.
The tall ones look like that?
Yeah, they just tend to be taller because the gravity of the planets around Epsilon Eridani is different.
I see.
And there's also been, there's a few other mixes in there, like the Tau Ceti primary systems. They tend to interbreed with different groups than the Epsilon Eridani Tau Cetians.
Okay.
So as a result, there's more height in the Epsilon Eridani, and they also tend to be thinner.
Do any of them look completely human? In other words, could they walk among us?
It would Most people, I think, would do a double take because their eyes tend to be about 30% larger than human eyes, like Terran eyes.
I see.
And if they had sunglasses and smiled with their mouths closed and had something covering their ears, yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell them different from a human.
Okay.
Usually when they come down here, because they tend to be fourth or fifth dimensional.
I see.
They have to use special equipment and generate a 3D body in order to interact down here. And in the past, when they were first scouting out this system to figure out what was going on with the reptilians and the Greys here, they used bodies that were colored more similarly to a Terran average. So brown hair, brown eyes, darker skin. They kept the pointed ears, but they made their teeth look more Terran too, because Tau Cetians, if you're not used to the teeth, well, it looks scary, but honestly, they don't bite unless you ask them nicely in the bedroom.
Okay. Brent had another couple questions for you here. It says, what is your thoughts on Billy Meyer?
Billy Meyer did have at least 3 genuine visitations. Now, the story on what happened after that varies. The guy who's currently running the Billy Meyer material, he is extremely aggressive about, I guess you could say, the intellectual property of Billy Meyer.
You mean for the U.S.? Yeah?
Not only that, but anybody who says anything that's outside of what Billy Meyer says, he comes down like a rabid Wolverine.
But it seems to me, I know who you're talking about, it seems to me that this is a self-appointed
yes,
position.
Very much so.
I know he always says he's the official this and that, but I mean, Billy is not a kind of a guy that really goes around, in my opinion, because my manager at Honda had been over there a few times to meet Billy, and he said he was a very unassuming person. I don't think he's putting together these groups.
No, with Billy Meyer, yes, he did have a number of actual interactions. 3 that I know of.
Yeah.
The being Semjays existed. She was Alcyone. I say was because she died in combat some years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
So
that.
anyone who's claiming to be Semjays now is a liar. Anybody who's claiming to channel Semjays is not channeling Semjays. They're channeling something else.
All right.
Not to mention, as an Alcyone, part of the Andromeda Council and the Galactic Federation of Planets, Semjays would not be coming through a channeler because channeling is outlawed in those 2 organizations.
Interesting.
And all of the member worlds that belong to those organizations keep that and don't participate in channeling. If they're being channeled, they're not us, no matter what they're trying to say to you.
Is there a distinction in your mind about telepathy? I mean, and channeling? Because I thought Billy Meyer's contact notes were basically channeled, or are they telepathic? I mean,
they were telepathic.
Okay.
Now, the thing with telepathic is that it's a 2-way conversation in which both entities remain distinct and don't occupy the same mind.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And yeah, I got you, as opposed to, right, I see, you're right. That's a good point.
As opposed to opening up your body and your mind, letting something else use your mouth.
Yes, in other words, like say, yes, possess my body. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Okay.
Channeling is considered a form of possession. It's considered voluntary possession.
Yeah.
But there are inherent dangers involved with this.
Oh, yeah.
When you're doing that, it's very difficult to discern whether or not something's telling the truth.
Right.
It's very difficult to evict something that has come that you've invited in.
Right.
It becomes very difficult to close yourself to that form of occupation even after the fact.
Right.
So if you become really good at channeling, you become like a revolving door that anyone can just walk into. No locks, the windows are open.
Yeah, right.
Hurricane in.
Yeah, you kind of give up your sovereignty, actually. It's what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that.
Yes, and a lot of beings that use channelers, in order to do it, they will consume part of the life essence of that channeler.
Right.
In order to maintain that link and to speak and to get the energy to do it. They're not spending their own energy to come through. Yeah. They're using what the channeler's got.
Oh my.
And that results in negative health consequences for the person who's doing the channeling. And they'll often leave behind a kind of a false vitality to hide this.
God.
So that the person afterwards feels really energized and hyped up and but it's actually just a falsehood.
Yeah, that sounds very much like possession. I mean, what I know about possession, anyway. Okay, final thoughts, please, from you. Tanaath?
Well, I'd like to finish by, with what I try to emphasize in most of my shows, and that is use your discernment. Just because somebody has said something to you that helped you out, that helped awaken you, don't feel intellectually or psychologically beholden to anyone. Take every piece of information from every source as it comes, and you put that through all of your filters, regardless of who told it to you. The other thing I want to say is, because your thought is power, because this is a matter of co-creating a reality, don't allow your creational power to be used in a way that you don't want. If you really don't want to see a world in which most of us are dead and the rest of us are slaves, do not contribute your belief, your power, your thoughts to that, even through your own fear. Instead, channel your energy, and I mean channel as in digging a channel and letting it run down that way, not as in, inviting a being into yourself.
Right.
Channel that energy into making a future that you like and want. Focus on what you want to build, not what you're afraid of. You can acknowledge the things that they want to do, you can acknowledge your fears and the things that you're afraid of, but don't put your energies into building that fear. Put your energies into building the solution.
Yes. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're some kind of psychic big shot. Doesn't matter if you're, somebody who thousands of people are listens to, or if, you're just volunteering down at the local soup kitchen helping make the world a better place there. It doesn't matter the scale. Put your energies into what you can do. Don't dwell on what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Do what you can do. You are the hero of your own personal story. So take control of your life. Don't be a passenger. Be a driver.
Right. Otherwise, you have nothing to complain about, actually.
Yep.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you, Tanaath. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And
yeah, Robert, I'll do this anytime. Well, maybe not anytime, because I do need some sleep, too.
Have a nice dinner and get some rest, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Nice
and
speaking
have a great weekend.
Oh, you too. And we'll be in touch. Thanks. Bye for now. Well, there you have it, folks. That concludes another episode of the Unicus Radio Hour. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. Very interesting. Next week, we do have quite a lineup of guests so far. Well, you're just going to have to stay tuned. I think, you know what? I'm going to start posting it on my Facebook page, because apparently a lot of people do, they actually do read it. I was surprised. Whoops, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. God, these buttons drive me nuts. I'm sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, we have an action-packed week coming up, but today has been a fabulous Friday, August 23rd, and it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Be good to yourself and one another. It's very important that we all do the best that we can every day in every way, right? So, until next time, good night, and God bless.